so people could
It's
hear
the
us if they
Rome
were
Show
tuned in.
pre-show. This is where you get the authenticity of the Rome Show.
That's when
Rocky Romanella is the founder and CEO of 360 Management Services LLC and author of the book Tighten the Lug Nuts. With over 40 years of boots on the ground leadership experience, Rocky creates excitement through his energy, passion, and knowledge in every podcast. During his 36 years at UPS, he led one of the largest rebranding initiatives in franchising history, the UPS Store, revolutionizing the $9 billion retail shipping and business services market. He also led the integration of more than 20 acquisitions that became UPS Supply Chain Solutions and let us improve financial performance, capabilities, and global footprint. Post-UPS, he served as CEO and director for Unitech Global Services, a telecommunications company, and serves as an independent board member and advisor. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the discussion.
Do this look like work to you? Nah, looking at the lights like it's all of this for me. Everyone tonight is here, all of this for me. Hands in the air, yeah, all of this for me. Bottles over here, all of this for me. Bottles bringing bottles, yeah, all of this for me.
Hello, and welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on HamiltonRadio.net, Channel 2, and Facebook.com/The Rome Show 1. I am Andrew Romanella. Back with me this week, Mr. Rocky Romanella. Welcome back to the show, Rocco. We missed you.
Yeah, we missed you too.
It is June 15th, 2020. It's 7:03 here at the 360 Management Services studio version of the Rome Show. We have a jam-packed show for you today. I'm a little ticked off. We'll get into that in a little bit, but Major League Baseball is going to be the brunt of that. The NBA players have come out to talk a little bit about what they feel in terms of when their season is going to return. Plus, golf returned over the weekend. We got some Rocks reviews. The lost summer, on ESPN last night. We're going to talk a little bit about that 30 for 30 and so much more. Remember, you can get in on the show at any point in time on the social medias, and you can call it in 609-807-2492. Don't forget the comment section of the Facebook as well. I'll tell you what, Rock, man, how do you feel taking a week hiatus off of the radio and so much happening actually in sports? And now you can come back in and infiltrate the Romo Sapien minds.
It's nice. I almost feel like sports rejuvenated. Like it's back. Like there's the golf was on TV.
Yeah.
NASCAR's been on. No, I'm just kidding.
But a little bit about NASCAR too, because Alvin Kamara made a really big stand by showing up to a NASCAR race.
Yeah, no doubt. But there is so much. There's a lot happening with the major professional leagues, which I'm really excited about. People are actually working out and getting ready to play.
Yeah.
And not
and you see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was Instagram of someone on the ice the other day. I was like, yes.
There was a huge Twitter, I think Garrett Cole is trending on Twitter today because he showed up to Yankee Stadium to throw a bullpen.
Yeah, right.
But that's how much people miss live sports right
Do you
now.
realize that some of the NHL clubs were not able to open their facility because they have to refreeze the ice because they took the ice out?
Oh.
So they would have to pay for all the bills.
I honestly didn't even think about that.
I know.
That's pretty funny.
It got really bad.
Something as simple as that.
Well, we melted all the ice.
Speaking of sports that returned this weekend, you mentioned golf, okay? I believe it was the Charles Schwab tournament that went on this weekend down in Texas. This date in history for June 15th, 2020 comes from the sport of golf. Okay? This date in history, June 15th, 1947.
Wow.
Yes, that is correct. We are going deep into the archives. Lou Warsham defeated Sam Snead in a one-stroke playoff for the U.S. Open title.
Wow.
This was Lou Warsham's only major victory on the PGA Tour. Furthermore, that it would be Lou, yeah, L-E-W, not L-O-U. Interesting.
Way to go, Lou.
Such a 1947's name. That U.S. Open took place at the St. Louis Country Club, which I don't even know if exists anymore or even if they hold PGA Tour events there, but that is this date in history, June 15th, 1947.
I mean, with history like that, you got to think the St. Louis CC is still open.
100%, right?
For sure.
And a place that I really kind of want to, A, research, and B, maybe take out a trip and play.
Yeah, absolutely. It's time that the golf once a year trip actually happens.
Yeah.
We need to find a location, pick a weekend, and do it.
For all the Romo Sapiens out there, while we're on the topic of golf, Rocky and I have talked about this often, and we executed it twice.
It was twice.
Twice. Once to Georgia
Yeah.
and once to South Carolina.
Yeah. Crashed and burned on the first one.
Crash and burn with our scores big time.
Yeah.
Our goal is always to take a golf trip once a year to somewhere we've never played golf. I think that was like 8 years ago.
It's been a while.
If you're out there, honestly, 609-807-2492, because I know we're not the only people here that have talked about and probably tried to execute things that you'd really like to do, like visiting 30 ballparks in 30
you
days.
put that in the same category.
Yeah, stuff like
same
that.
category. Seeing games in other stadiums, other cities for sure.
Call in, write in on the social media, write in on the Facebook page, whatever it is. Let us know what your want in the sports world is. I guess we'll call it a bucket list item.
Yeah.
Our bucket list item is visiting a different golf place every day. We'll execute that. I'm going to execute this right now. This is your straight off the Rome, and I am pissed off.
Yes.
I am pissed off, and it's directed at Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association. I dissected this 19 different ways and twice on Sunday to try and figure out what's going on. Will baseball be played in 2020? And is the sport that I love and have built my career around, is it crumbling at the core, at the center right now, and will it ever come back? And I've come up with a few answers, okay? I woke up this morning, and I got to be honest with you, Rock, 100% I blame the players, 100%. I'm like, you're wrong. What a terrible climate to choose to stand on a hill and die for someone that makes $200 million a year. You're wrong. You're just wrong. Then as I did research, no, I'm not going to say the players are right because I still firmly believe there's a lot of wrongness there. Read the room, right? Read the room. There are millions unemployed. There are millions furloughed.
Yeah.
And you're complaining to me about a pro rata salary, which we'll get into later.
I don't even know what pro rata means.
Exactly. That'll be your Romalytics for later. But you're complaining to me about a pro rata salary that's still going to pay you hundreds of thousands of dollars to play a condensed season of Major League Baseball. Now, we can dissect this multiple different ways. The other side of the argument, though, is I understand why the players are digging their feet into the ground when there is a CBA negotiation coming up at the end of December 2021 that the players believe needs to turn in their favor. Because the CBA that they signed in 2016, in the Players Association's opinion, was a terribly signed CBA. Now, I always have this to say. Well, then why the heck did you sign it? Because the idea of a Players Association and a CBA and Major League Baseball would be that you get to go back and forth on what you would like to play for, what you will sign for, and then you go ahead and play it. So you can't get mad at the league for executing things that you allowed them to execute on the last CBA. The last thing I'll say, because I could go on, and I'm pissed, because at the end of the day, baseball is not in a position to deal with this. You're losing fans. I would argue that out of the four major sports, you're probably the sport that is, I'm not going to say least liked, but it might be the lowest on the totem pole. I believe hockey has taken a step up above the game of baseball, right? And you don't have a following from young people because the argument is, oh, we flip the bats. They want to have fun. It's a different game. Oh, we have to keep the traditions of baseball alive. And these people want no DH and these people want DH. And we're arguing about rules from 1887 when at the end of the day, it's about who's watching the game and can the game continue to grow. And this, in my opinion, is another example of Major League Baseball being narrow-minded in their thought process and not thinking about the long term because you are going to lose a lot of fans. You might not lose the diehard, Rock. You might not lose the diehard, but you're going to lose the fringe fan. And no doubt, you're going to lose the person that sometimes watches baseball, maybe likes to watch the World Series, or thinks about watching baseball, and now is going to be like, honestly, man, screw these dudes complaining about millions and millions of dollars. So I think both sides are at fault, but at the end of the day, the players need to suck it up. The league needs to budge a little bit, and you need to realize that you could be turning baseball really backwards, and you might not come back from it.
Wow. That is Andrew Romanella is fired up. He just hit 2 threes in NBA 2K, and it just said, "You're heating up."
Is there an air conditioner in this room?
This is serious. So, allow me to I just want to recap with you just to make sure I got hold of everything.
Tell me.
So, we're fired up because right now, baseball, the league and its players are fighting over money.
Yes.
And the time period says that's just so tone deaf to
Yes.
what's happening to every other American and every other person in the world that it just doesn't make sense. So there's number one. Number two, one of the things why it's happening is because baseball negotiated the CBA 2 years ago, right? This is the agreements between players and associations, usually called collective bargaining, right?
Yep.
So that's what every league has: players and ownership in leagues, right? So you're saying that what happened in 2016, they're getting ready for the 2021 re-up, so that's why it's happening. You're also at the same time saying that because they've taken this moment to make a stance, right, in such a tough time, that you're really hurting your overall viewership, fanship, and overall love for the
100%.
game from fans. Also mentioning in here that hockey is maybe gaining more popularity than baseball. Listen, as much as I want to believe that to be true, it probably is not.
But this could be the moment where it happens.
But you know what? The beauty about hockey and the reason it's so good is that, maybe that's a good land grab for us. We'll get a couple more viewers, which I'll be happy
a
about.
land grab for us.
Yeah.
Note the quote right there.
Yeah.
Land
Like,
grab
maybe,
for
maybe
us.
we'll grab a couple fans, but ultimately long term, we only appeal to people that believe. So we're cool there. And then finally, baseball is just not really paying attention to its true fan base. They're always in the last 5-6 years, it was steroids first, and then it's now it's rules. Now it's is the game too long? Do we change too many pitchers? Do we have too many analytics? So you kind of just did a full
Synopsis.
You kind of said that, hey, baseball, you're really, and I'm just gonna make this is
Paraphrasing.
This is Andrew's thesis based on what you just heard, and just tell me if I'm right or wrong. Right? Hey, baseball, based on where you were before the pandemic, you have no business to take a stance this way and not be on the field playing right now based on your current state of affairs. And if you want to rectify those and go long term, you better correct this fast or else you're in a bad way.
100%. And I'll add to that just by saying this. The best word you used there was tone deaf or words.
Yeah.
Because I think everything that you just summarized from my rant is essentially baseball being tone deaf in multiple areas. And Rob Manfred came out today. Now, what's going on during this show, something that I think everybody that after they're done with the Rome show should go check out a little bit of, is on ESPN. Was it Greenberg? Mike Greenberg is having a round table Zoom discussion with the commissioners of every league. Well,
Six of the major leagues.
6 major leagues. Oh, because it's MLS and it's
The WNBA.
there you go. And which also just announced they're going to be coming back soon.
Every league is going to be coming back except for baseball as of right now.
Rob Manfred essentially said, unfortunately, I can tell you that I'm not 100% certain that the 2020 season is going to happen. Okay. And that's just a quick version of it. This comes off the heels of on Friday saying, with almost 100% certainty, I can say baseball is going to be played. So I think that goes to show you the disconnect that is between the players and the league. Now, take this situation and magnify it to the 2021 CBA and to those negotiations, right? Because if we don't get this corrected, okay, and they don't play the 2020 season, now we're looking at something you said when you called in last week, which was you believe Baby Rocco won't be watching baseball in the first year of his life until the summer of 2021, right?
now.
So now you strike in 2020, you don't play, okay? Crazy year, you could almost be okay with it. But then 2021 comes and you negotiate the CBA. Based on this information, I'm worried that the 2022 season might be a strike.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. So there's another season between the actual bargaining agreement.
Yeah. So that's what's weird about this situation. It's almost like your pre-collective bargaining agreement negotiations a year and a half early because of this pandemic, which I've read a few different things. Some people believe it could go good. Hey, we've already got the bad stuff out of the way. Now we know what you want. We know what you want. Let's come together. But I'm in the camp, and I think you're in this camp as well. Tell me if I'm wrong. That it just feels like it's trending in the bad direction, and there might be no bounce back.
I don't think that they've even gotten started.
Really?
I don't think that they're even close to having a conversation.
And you're talking about the PA and the owners.
Yeah, they're nowhere near it.
Because and a few people. Now I want you to elaborate, because I did read a few people that cover Major League Baseball say this is not a negotiation. This is just points being thrown back and forth at each other.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's even in the room at this point.
Reading anything, talking.
I think each side has a general idea of what they want. I think it's 100% about the 2021 CBA, by the way. Right? This has nothing to do with the pandemic at this point. It's completely moved on, and that's probably the biggest problem. Is that they probably in their minds are all on that same page. Like, let's just do the collective bargaining right now at this point. I think that's probably what's going to end up bringing them together, right? Is a compromise on saying, hey, let's just move up the CBA talk, forget the pandemic. Let's put 2020, in a blender. We'll mash it up and spit it out, and let's get this thing taken care of. So we play in 2021, and I think that that's probably what's actually going to get them together. Because right now, I don't think that they're even close to having a friendly conversation.
And a lot of it comes down. Actually, the main point is money.
Yeah.
The players want a type of pro rata or prorated, in my opinion, whatever word you want to utilize, salary. The owners want a smaller percentage of that pro rata salary. So I did a little bit of research to figure out what pro rata even meant. Okay. We're going to give you the generic understanding of what we're talking about here between the players and the owners. This is your Romalytics for June 15th, 2020. Remember, 609-807-2492 if you got an opinion on this and you want to scream and yell about Major League Baseball. So essentially, if a player has a $2 million yearly salary, in order to calculate their pro rata salary, you're going to times that $2 million by the amount of games they'll play that season. So, for example, here, we're going to use a 50-game schedule. Okay, so it's 2 million times 50. Okay, then you're going to divide that by the amount of games a traditional season is, which is 162. That number, okay, if we use the $2 million as the example, would come to $617,283. Now, at the simplest of forms, if the players wanted a pro rata salary based on 162 games, and a certain player made $2 million. In order to play a 50-game season, they would make roughly $620,000 before playoff bonuses. Now, to dive a hair deeper, the owners essentially want between 20 and 30% less than the pro rata salary that the players are looking for. Now, there is some iffy situation here because there was an agreement signed in March that essentially stated the players would like 116 or 120 game pro rata salary, somewhere in that ballpark. We're not here to dive deep into the analytics. We're here to scratch the surface, okay? So essentially, if you took that $620,000 and you took 20% of it, which is essentially what the owners want in simplest of form, that player for 50 games would make $125,000 in that ballpark before playoff bonuses, okay? So that's a lot of numbers. And that's why it's difficult to understand this situation. And I'm not going to lie to you, right? I've tried, and I still don't to the nth degree. But what I do understand is the players want X. The owners want to give them Y. The owners are saying they're going to lose billions of dollars. The players are saying, show us, right? And the owners aren't. So there's that clear disconnect, which brings it all back full circle. Pro rata this, Romalytics that. Whatever the numbers are, to your original point, which is if we're in the room with Major League Baseball, the MLBPA is in New York in a whole different state. I think that's how far apart the negotiations are. And it's sad, man, because it comes down just to money in a league that is insanely lucrative, and these players are making an insane amount of money.
No, it's crazy. And if you do the math, I mean, the player, like if you get your pro rata, if you did your math, you would get 30% of your salary. Right. And by the way, 50 out of 162 is 30% of the season. So that actually, the math makes sense there. But if you were to take the extra 20% off the top,
it's a lot.
Now you're literally only getting paid 6% of your actual salary. So listen, if 50% of the league didn't make more than $1 million a year, it would be an easier argument for fans to deal with. But because fans cannot relate to
Can't
how much
fathom that.
money you can't relate. You just the fan that can only go to one game a year, or the fan that can go like maybe take their family to the ballpark once a year based on like how much money they make. Like that fan can't relate to
100%.
to this person.
100%.
So that's why you're losing fanship. It's not about people who aren't going to love baseball anymore. You're still going to love baseball.
Of
'cause
course.
It's fun to play.
Right.
Right. So
Or
you'll get over
watch
it. You know,
in
you'll
some
get over it
people's
eventually.
thoughts.
But the problem is you can't relate to it. So right now you're just getting crushed.
Do you know in 2020, okay, so the league shut down operation, I think on March 28th or something like that. When the league shut down operation, do you know what the average MLB salary was?
The average MLB salary. So your position players in the outfield, your starting pitchers, and your bullpen all get paid the most money, right? So A+ players are anywhere between like 50 and like they're making like their long-term deals are like $100 million, right? Your B+ players are still making like 15 mil a year. Your
But
lower guys,
majority
your
of the league
bullpen
is made
makes
up of
like
C players, though.
your
In that example.
your bullpen makes $1 million. Yeah, but all these bigger numbers are going to bring up the
All
average.
right, so what do you
and
think
your
it is?
league minimum is what, 500,000?
I think it's in between 400, 500, yeah.
So I think the average person gets paid $1.3 million a year,
Higher.
$2 million a year,
Higher.
$5 million a year.
A little bit lower.
Wow, $4 million a year.
$4.4 million per year was the average Major League Baseball salary.
Yeah, that's
And that's up 1.5% from last year.
it's not relatable.
Like, that's
You
the
can't be
problem.
mad at you.
You can't, you're right. And so at some
So
point,
6% of your $4 million is more than 80% of the country makes.
and at some point you
A
look
year.
at you look at the owners and you say, I don't necessarily blame you, but if you were just to budge a hair, this thing would be over. Like if you just budged a hair, this thing could be over. And so to finish the full conversation,
That's why maybe it's not about money.
well, there
That's
could
why-
be
that's
the
why it's maybe
CBA
about
is so
CBA.
important.
Yeah.
To finish the full conversation, this is where Major League Baseball's at right now. We read the comments from Rob Manfred. Okay, the only thing that can really happen is Major League Baseball can implement a season of their choice. Okay, now there's a lot that can go into that. Do players strike? Again, what's the salary compensation going to be? Where is it going to be played? All of those things come into play. But there was that agreement signed up in March that we mentioned before. Major League Baseball drew it up. The Players Association agreed to it. That is a huge part of this as well, because both sides believe that both sides aren't fulfilling the agreements of that contract to a degree, which is why they can't meet at a common ground. Okay, understood. At the end of the day, baseball can implement that. The players have to make a decision. The MLBPA came out and said, just tell us when and where, and we'll be there. Okay? So I asked the people, all right? I asked them, what would you like to see right now? Okay, so you're Major League Baseball. You have the chance to implement. I got this. 82 games, normal playoff. 81 game regular season, ends on 9/30, 14 playoff. I don't like the lack of playoff teams. Or 50 games, but make it like the NHL 2014 tournament, which I don't know how you do that, but I understand the concept of a shorter season trying to make it that much more exciting.
I would love to see a shortened season that played like a spring training and a full
Atmosphere?
league and a full league tournament.
Like, it doesn't matter you're East or West or.
That's right. A full league. No, you start on your sides. Like literally run it like Little League gets to the Little League World Series. Like stay. Like I would break the league up. I would
into
even
regions.
break the league up into regions, and you're playing into your region to get to the World Series all the way through.
Could you imagine if they like played the Little League World Series style for Major League
Dude,
Baseball?
what
I mean, that'd be pretty interesting.
what's the harm in that?
I don't know. I don't know what the harm is. Like, because maybe the harm is you can't guarantee X amount of games for each team. Right. In a scenario
Yeah,
where
who
you play
cares?
a regular shortened season, well, that's again.
If you're only going to play 50,
But if we're talking about the issues we're talking about right now with salaries, are you really going to convince a guy that's on, let's take the Marlins, who are not going to win anything,
no.
right? They play 27 games. But
That's
you think a
definitely
guy,
ambitious. Yeah, it's too ambitious.
right, a guy in the Royals plays 40. Now we're talking about pro rata this, and I can't handle it anymore, right? I think what's sad about it all, right, and this has been, I have to say, this has been one of the most fired up straight off the roams I've got. But that's because, like, think about it from my standpoint. Like, I'm coaching this game at a lower level. I'm coaching this game to guys that never have the chance to get paid, that have to pay their way to be on the team. They can't go on their trips out of state if they don't pay money to do so. So think about that. These kids are paying college tuition. They're paying more money on top of that. They're asked to fundraise. They're asked to wake up early, right? None of this is contractually obligated. And I guarantee you, if I walked up to any kid, and I'm not just talking about my level, I'm talking about almost everywhere. And I would guarantee you 50% of Major League Baseball right now, you say, listen, man, I'll give you $40,000 to play a 50-game season. Would you do it? Yeah. Every dude that has 21 days of Major League service time would do it. Why? Because that's an opportunity to show they belong when 162 games comes back next year and they can make $450,000. Think about this. This is how messed up it's gotten. Major League Baseball approved teams. Now, they cut their draft down.
Okay.
40 rounds to 5.
Okay.
Major League Baseball approved teams signing free agents. No more maximum than $20,000. So now a guy that might have been drafted in the 35th round and got a $35,000 to $50,000 signing bonus only gets $20,000 or less. It can be less. Think about the guy in the 6th round.
Why can't he just decline it?
Well, now you're talking about going back to college. Now you're talking about
Why
what
wouldn't
that
he go back
entails.
to college at this point?
Because just think of, again, just
I
think
got a full
about
scholarship.
how many things. Do you though? Because there's no such thing as full scholarships in baseball. You only get
I got some scholarships.
yeah, yeah, right. So that is again the depths of where baseball's at. And again, I want to bring it all back to fan engagement and what the game needs to do. And they need to worry about kids that are aged 7 through 14. Because when we return
don't,
from
though.
break, right? Because when we return from break, we're going to talk about the lost summer, which was the home run race between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, which in 1998 was essentially what brought Major League Baseball back.
Yeah, but how many times has baseball been in a bad way? This is their MO, man.
But that's not good because every time they've gone
This
in
is
bad
it.
way, what's happened when they came out of it?
The people still watch.
A problem, a scandal, or it's not as popular. And then we trend towards this situation again. And then we lose popularity again, most likely. And then what? Because you
It's
said
never
it.
going to go away.
It can, though.
Where?
Right now. You have to make a decision.
Well,
And-
soccer is on the rise.
And so is hockey. You've been in the meetings.
Hockey's in a great spot. I just listen. I get it. But the league doesn't care about youth baseball.
And you make this point about hockey. all the
And
time.
by the way, based on your points, why not? Why doesn't the league then, for all your points, go play with replacement players?
Well, that's what I think they're going to do.
But you don't make the same kind of money from
No.
a commercial standpoint.
No.
You probably don't even get. You maybe only get 90% of your games aired because they'll be either blacked out or have no viewership.
What's the difference between the replacement players and what the Mets have been playing with for the last 6 years?
Wow,
I'm
come
just
on,
kidding.
that's not nice. You're a fan.
I know.
That's not right. I'll never be.
All
okay
right,
with
maybe
that.
2007 to like
Come on.
2012. All right, come on, that was enjoyable.
Let's put a bow on baseball here. We gotta send these guys packing.
Yeah, well, we'll come back and we're gonna jump on the lost summer, so we have a little bit more baseball left.
Oh well,
But
yeah, that's cool. That's
I got a little bit of trivia. I have offered up for Rocky here, which I'm curious to see if he can get these right or not. It's kind of hard actually, so I'm definitely curious about that. The NBA restart and so much more, but we got to play the Bills here on the Rome Show. I'm Andrew Romanella. That is Rocky Romanella. This is HamiltonRadio.net, channel 2, Facebook.com/The Rome Show 1. We will be right back after this break.
Rocky Romanella is the founder and CEO of 360 Management Services LLC and author of the book Tighten the Lug Nuts. With over 40 years of boots on the ground leadership experience, Rocky creates excitement through his energy, passion, and knowledge in every podcast. During his 36 years at UPS, he led one of the largest rebranding initiatives in franchising history, the UPS Store, revolutionizing the $9 billion retail shipping and business services market. He also led the integration of more than 20 acquisitions that became UPS Supply supply chain solutions and let us improve financial performance, capabilities, and global footprint. Post-UPS, he served as CEO and director for Unitech Global Services, a telecommunications company, and serves as an independent board member and advisor. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the discussion.
All right, we are back here on the Rome Show, June 15th, 2020. It is 7:31 here on the East Coast. You can hear the Rome Show on HamiltonRadio.net, channel 2, Facebook.com/Andrew.Romanella, or the Rome Show 1. Honestly, I forget which one I say every time. Just go find it. It's so super simple. You can Google it. It'll pop up, wideworldofrome.com. So many different avenues. And remember, call in the show, 609-807-2492. Write us up on the Facebook wall. I see a few people chiming in. Gotta love it. Or get on the Instagram, Coach Romo24. We had another write-in, and I wanted to get to this really quickly before we get into the lost summer, okay? Throwing a little curveball into the show wrench here, and I really like it. So I asked this question, and I asked it late because it popped up to my head late, and I was upset with myself, but I got a response, and it was a good one. If you could ask a commissioner one question, who and what would you ask? Okay, and I pose that to you, the Romo Sapiens, 609-807-2492. If you could ask a commissioner one question, who and what would you ask them? Well, I got this. This is actually my freshman year of college's now wife. There we go. What are you doing to earn new fans in this generation, and how are you trying to retain fans? Now, she didn't say which commissioner, but I find it interesting that mirrors the conversation we've had about Major League Baseball. Do you believe that that's a problem in other sports? Because I just think it's a baseball issue.
It's a problem in every sport. I mean, it's not a problem as much as it's a focus, right? Like, you have to have fans in order to make money, right? You are a revenue generating league. If you don't have fans in your chairs and you don't have fans watching at home on TV, then you cannot make money. You cannot sustain your business.
Right.
So, like, I mean, yeah, it should always be at the forefront. But I feel like in these situations is where it goes down, which is why I think it will ultimately in baseball get to the CBA. Because in the CBA, that is where the fanship type conversations happen, right? After the 2006 lockout in the NHL, which you could argue may be one of the better lockouts when you look at what happened afterwards, right? Next thing you know, you start watching hockey again in 2006, and hey, between every first period, every coach gets interviewed.
Yeah.
Right. So like, boom.
It took
so
the
that's
model of
like,
basketball.
so that's like fan engagement right there. So it's like,
And-
so what part of the CBA, like, because they have to sign off on doing those interviews.
And the cameras, like the
Right.
camera angles that hockey brought to the game. When I hear the word fan engagement, I think about that.
So that's why. So like, if fan engagement is truly on the MLB priority list during this, it won't come about until they get into CBA discussions, and
Yeah.
you won't hear anything about it.
I agree. And I think hockey, to your point, why over the last 15 years it's grown so much is because their fan engagement has been fantastic. We went to the Winter Classic. We did the fan experience there. It was awesome
It was
seeing
great.
the Stanley Cup, meeting Jeremy Roenick, all the opportunities you had there. It's because it has to thrive off of its fans. I think the NBA, especially with what they've done internationally, but the way they've branded the individual superstar, off the charts with their fan engagement. That's why you can have a guy be more important than a team's uniform. And I think football, in my opinion, has transitioned into America's pastime. I don't believe baseball is America's pastime anymore. Is it America's pastime in terms of the number one sport in America for a lot of our history? Sure. But now, if you think about a kid let's think about Baby Rocco, okay? He's on the Baby Rocco show 30 years from now. And someone calls in and says, Baby Rocco, right? Or Kid Rock, we're going to go with Kid Rock. What's the America's pastime? I believe him and his generation, and some that come before him, teetering on my generation, are going to say football. Football is America's pastime. And if you think about it, are they wrong?
No, I know football is definitely the modern generational number. I mean, it's the number one sport. It produces the most revenue, has the most fans. Like, the stats are there. Like, it's the number
It's
one.
talked
sport.
about 12 months out of the year, literally.
Yeah, I mean, you literally have networks. You know,
the draft combine.
but I mean, it's
That's the
incredible.
best
It's awful.
example.
It's awful.
All right,
too.
so-
I hate them.
Before we get into the lost summer, okay, because I was on the edge of my seat with this documentary, okay? this is again how much I'm missing baseball, right?
Yes.
But just the history of it too. Okay, if you could ask a commissioner a question, what commissioner would it be, and what question would you have for them?
I'd ask Adam Silver why he isn't more aggressive in college and why he hasn't fixed those rules more in his favor to look like a hero and get more youth basketball involved. I would ask Robert Manfred, like,
Oh, you have a question for each one of them.
I would ask Robert. I would ask Robert Manfred if I don't know what I'd ask Robert Manfred. It would definitely have to be something to do with rules. I would ask Gary Bettman in the NHL if he would ever consider taking video replay out for offsides after like a certain time period, which I think could happen anyway.
Yeah, because can't right now, like if you think it's an offsides and then the play goes for a minute and a half, I can still challenge that.
Yeah,
offsides?
it's gone down though because they've given you a penalty if you challenge
After a
offsides.
certain time?
If you challenge offsides and you're wrong, then you get a penalty for it.
Oh, so you can't just throw the challenge.
Yeah,
flag.
so it's helped a lot, but like I probably asked him about offsides, and then I'd ask him about if Phoenix is ever going to move to Quebec City.
I got a lot of questions for the commissioners. I said one commissioner, one question, and Rocky's like, "Oh, let me get out my diary here."
I would ask
This is how I felt.
I would ask the commissioner of the MLS what he's willing to pay Cristiano Ronaldo
To go.
and Lionel Messi,
Wait.
how much money he's willing to pay them to retire in the MLS.
And what team would you put him on?
Exactly. What team would you prefer to have them on?
I'd put one on LA,
Yeah.
and I'd put one in the New York or Chicago or Seattle market.
Yeah. I'd probably ask, you know what, I'm going to go back. I'd ask Gary Bettman what is the 5-10 year plan for a professional women's hockey league?
Oh, that's a really
I'd love
good
this.
one.
I think the NHL should really get on that.
Oh, well, I think that out of all the questions you just threw out to the different commissioners, that's your best one.
And they do support it, but right now there are two competing professional women's leagues in the game.
We might be the biggest advocates for women's professional leagues on the radio. Between women's soccer
You
and
are-
women's hockey, I truly believe we could get some real great change here in the women's professional leagues. And my question, I thought about this because I knew I was going to ask you the question. So I'm like, what would my question be? I'm going to ask Rocky, okay? I can't be simple and just say baseball. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk to Roger Goodell, okay? And I'm going to say this. I'm going to ask this.
I didn't even bring him up.
Roger Goodell, why are you so afraid of your own players? And people are like, what do you mean? Well, why are you so afraid of doing the right thing? And why do you always protect the shield over your players? Because that seems to be the conversation in football a lot. Because when everything happened, I talked about this last week. Go back on the June 8th show on my Facebook, on HamiltonRadio.net, Channel 2, on the Rome Show podcast. I said, for the players of the NFL to come out and send a direct message at the league and Roger Goodell shows you the respect or lack thereof that they have for their commissioners. So Roger Goodell, why are you so afraid of protecting your players over the shield? And you can't give me money. I'm so tired of hearing money.
NFL, no,
Because they could have had a change.
The NFL is the most popular of the old institution, right? The NFL is the
It's true.
old institution that everyone fights against. Like that is the NFL to a T, and they are always able to, for their history, even in recent times, even with Colin Kaepernick, they've been able to hide behind it because of the money it generates, because of it always teetering on the line. But at this point, you can't
teeter anymore.
You can't teeter anymore. And if you don't become progressive and you don't change some of your old school, very deep rooted old school values,
It's a problem.
then your players really won't show up for you and they will go play in the XFL. Football, in my opinion, can survive without the NFL. They could survive in another league.
You're saying like
The sport itself is popular enough and easy enough to watch and cheer for that if you had 10% of your star athletes in the NFL right now say, we're going to go to the USFL or we're going to go to the XFL or we're going to play our game there,
Do you think that could become equally as popular? Now, obviously, you have to have the money to pay those players, but let's just say the money playing field
But
is even.
look at what they're standing up for now.
Yeah.
What the players are standing up for now has nothing to do with money.
So, do you think the NFL, like as in terms of the owners, could be facing a real, I don't want to use the word issue, but real maybe situation if they don't take the proper stance in defending their players and whatever happens when the league comes back?
I don't know. I think like what you said, like they do. Football has always been about protecting the shield. That's what it's always been.
100%.
Right? It's been that mentality.
Former players say that.
Listen, no, and it's always that way. And now they really can't. Right? It's time. They probably have to make some sort of a change. So it'd be interesting to see. I don't know if it's maybe in 5 years, let's say it turns around, you could look here and be like, wow, these are the events that led up to it. Coronavirus hits, and this is really what the tipping point was for the NFL. That's probably what you're going to look at.
We're going to find out, but it seems like the only league that might have a full normal regular season out of all 4 major sports.
Which makes sense. But based on Roger Goodell's response to what is happening right now has to come into
play 100%.
And if the NBA, so if MLB doesn't play and the NBA's stance is in defense of Black Lives Matter and what's happening and their support for that movement, if that is the reason the NBA players don't play, which I think a lot of the discussion is.
But I think they'll eventually play.
I think they'll eventually play
for the same reasons you're talking about.
For those reasons.
Yeah,
that's right. That's
absolutely.
right. But if for whatever reason it didn't happen that way, I could see the NFL players jumping on board with that.
Yeah, and I just think that, and I've said this, and I've screamed about this.
So players will always support the player,
and they have such a big platform that you as the owners and you as the commissioner of the leagues almost have to take the NBA stance that they've taken the last 8 years and say, you know what, do what you feel, speak and do the things that you believe need to be spoken and done right now, and we're going to support you. And it's got to be that stance. We'll find out. Okay. 609-807-2492. Get us on the Facebook.com/The Rome Show 1. Coach Romo 24 on the gram and on Twitter. All right. The Lost Summer. I'll give the people, Rocky, a quick rundown on what the Lost Summer was. I would believe that a lot of people, it was a 2-hour 30 for 30 documentary on ESPN last night. I would believe that a lot of people might have caught some of it, heard about it, lived it, so they understand the premise of it. So it's a conversation that regardless if you saw the whole thing or not, you can be in the conversation. It's simply this. The Lost Summer documentary was about the 1998 home run chase between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Who could get to 61 home runs, essentially the quickest, and then who would end up hitting the most home runs that year and set the new record, breaking Roger Maris's record of 61 home runs a year. Roger Maris broke the Babe Ruth record of 60 home runs in a year. Okay. What I took from this documentary was 90-fold, but I simplified into a few things. The first one being Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire might have taken the biggest brunts and hits of the steroid era baseball players.
They absolutely no doubt did.
They are, in my opinion, throw Barry Bonds and Alex Rodriguez in that 1B category, but based on the conversation of steroids, the home run race of 1998, there were anabolic steroids or creatine, something of that like found in Mark McGwire's locker during that time. Steroids was a legal thing. Major League Baseball definitely encouraged it, whether they said they did it or did not. And Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire essentially took the brunt for the steroid era and became the poster children for the steroid era. And then came Barry Bonds, who then broke Mark McGwire's single-season home run record and the all-time home run record. And Alex Rodriguez, who famously tried to sue the league, was bashing people's names, was suspended for a full year. Those guys are in that category, but it started with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa.
Yeah, and truthfully, it started with Jose Canseco. And Jose Canseco was
because he was the whistleblower. Right.
And he was the guy that brought baseball down.
Absolutely.
And now it's really, it was Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa that brought him down. What it wasn't. But they easily, it was funny you say that because I was thinking that last. I was like, man, these guys took the brunt.
Yes. And I want to give you the stats on Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa real quick, okay? Not a lot, just the quickness. Mark McGwire hit 263, had 583 home runs, which was good for 11th all-time on the home run list. 1,414 RBIs in his career, was a 12-time All-Star. Okay. Sammy Sosa was a career 273 hitter, 609 home runs, which puts him 9th on the all-time list. 1,667 RBIs, was a 7-time All-Star, 6-time Silver Slugger, and was the 1998 NL MVP. Sammy Sosa also recorded 2,400 hits, which is good for 124th all-time. The only reason why I tell you that is because when you look at Hall of Fame statistics, he's actually included on that top 150 because it's usually above 2,000 and up, which is really when you start to get consideration. So you look at the numbers and you say, okay, these guys should be in. But then we understand the steroids conversation. So I ask you this, okay? This is the next takeaway I have from the lost summer, which is what brought baseball back, is that Major League Baseball can't sit here, turn a blind eye to steroids, be okay with players taking steroids, be okay with them hitting bombs, be okay with this home run race, which, oh, by the way, included Ken Griffey Jr. for 4.5 months out of the year, who was the first person ever to be unanimously voted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, which tells you the magnitude of that person being involved in it. You can't be okay with all of those things and then not put these people in the Hall of Fame. If you're going to admit that it's a part of your history, you have to allow them into the Hall of Fame. And the last thing I got for you, and I got to give Dad credit for this, okay? Mr. Lugnuts was saying this all night last night when I was watching with him, and I couldn't agree more. You still need to hit the baseball. You still need to know what pitch is coming. You still need to be good enough to play the game. And oh, by the way, okay? Oh, by the way, all of these players were great players before steroids. So I get the argument of steroids made them better. Maybe A-Rod doesn't hit 696. Maybe only hits 596. Well, 596 is still Hall of Fame numbers. And Barry Bonds still stole over 400 bases. And, oh, by the way, okay, can I just throw this out there? Okay, Mark McGwire was huge. He was huge. Look at him on the A's. He was huge. Okay, did he get bigger? Sure. That's called weightlifting, right? It bothers me. It bothers me that they can be okay with it, and now these guys get screwed.
So do you want to talk about the lost summer? Or talk about steroids in baseball?
It's the same thing. The lost summer is the prelude to what Major League Baseball was for the next 20 years.
Listen, those guys got it bad because they were the representatives on Capitol Hill. Like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, was it Rafael Palmeiro,
Canseco was there too.
Canseco, and then one other person all had to go to the Senate. Mark McGwire lied directly, right? And then Sammy Sosa pretended like he didn't speak English.
But he's on the documentary speaking great English.
That's why, that's why those guys got it, right? Yes. The problem, so that's why those. And by the way, can we talk about the summer actually?
Yeah.
Because what I liked about it is that when I look at my baseball childhood, right, you don't remember every game you watch. Mm-hmm. I still don't remember every game I watch. I remember more now than I did because I pay attention to the game a little bit more, right? But like when I think of baseball memories, right, I remember staying up to watch Cal Ripken Jr. Break the consecutive games record. I remember that. I was in 3rd grade. I actually remember.
I do not remember that.
No, we lived in Syracuse.
Yeah.
And I remember watching McGwire and Sosa go after the home run record.
Yeah,
in '98. I remember it. Like I remember that is a vivid memory, and everyone was going crazy.
I remember the night he broke it.
So do I. I mean, it was you had to watch it. Everyone was paying attention. It was really cool to be a part of, right? So like, and you think about that stuff, you're like, wow, that was really cool, right? And then later on, you get the steroid stuff, and you have everything now, and changes it a little bit.
People were just coming to watch those two hit bombs.
No, I know. That's why. Like, I like that the documentary is about the summer itself.
It's not just about the steroids. The last 10 minutes just gave you the synopsis on the steroids. And if you think about it, it was Griffey and McGwire for half the year. And I remember that's why I was so engaged, because Griffey was my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, Griffey's going to do it. And if you were a betting man at the time, you'd bet Griffey out of any of them, right? And then all of a sudden, Sosa hits 20 in June. Griffey falls off. And then what I thought was really cool was how
Sosa started taking steroids.
Yeah. or used to corked bat, either one, right? It could have gone either way. But what I found really cool is the way that they showed McGwire breaking it, but then the importance to him of still being the guy that held the record forever, which, again, didn't hold forever because Bonds broke it. But his point was, I could be the first person to hit 62.
But Sammy.
But if Sammy finishes with more than me, it doesn't matter how many I hit.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't matter that I broke the record that day. I hugged the Marises in the crowd. None of that, it all becomes obsolete. And to see that back and forth was a cool add-on to being a fan watching the whole thing happen. And then on top of that, I want to see the Barry Bonds documentary now because I remember that one vividly too, and where I was.
I love
when that
Barry
happened.
Bonds.
I do too.
I love Barry and Mark McGwire. I don't really like Sam.
All right, so Ruben, I'm gonna ask you to cue the music here, cue the game show music, because this brings us in to the Can You Guess Them game, June 15th, 2020 edition for the Rome Show. Okay, so what we're gonna do, all right, because we just talked about obviously McGwire and Sosa, so those are 2 of the 8 total players, okay, that have had that have hit over 500 home runs, okay, are not currently playing. That's a key factor here, okay. Hit over 500 home runs, not currently playing, that have been associated with the steroids, okay. Rube, if you have the game show music, play it now.
When can I? So
Let me ask you a question. All right, here we go. Okay. Rocky Romanello. Name, besides Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, 6 other players that have over 500 home runs are not in the Hall of Fame and are associated.
Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa.
Okay. Got those 2. So you have 6 more.
All right. So Barry Bonds,
Yep.
Alex Rodriguez.
Yep.
All right. So those are the ones I know.
Okay.
Is Vlad Guerrero on that list?
Vlad Guerrero is not.
Did he hit over 500?
No, he had like
Is he in the Hall of
460.
Fame?
He is in the Hall of Fame. Great hitter, though.
Rafael Palmeiro on there?
He is on that list. Rafael Palmeiro hit 569 home runs.
How many did Canseco hit?
Seiko,
He's not on the list.
no.
He's not there. He didn't hit 500.
Yeah.
How many Piazza? No, Piazza's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but he's not at 500.
He didn't hit 500?
No. You definitely know. I'll tell you this, okay? All 3
more,
of
right?
the remaining players,
Yeah.
okay, played in the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees.
All right. So did Maris hit 500?
No. You have to remember,
I'm just
not in the Hall of
giving
Fame.
you a hard time.
Not in the Hall of Fame, and think accused of steroids. You have 5.
Well, Roger Clemens didn't hit home runs. Neither did Andy Pettit. I already got A-Rod. Jason Young.
Nope.
Didn't hit 500.
No. No.
I need better hints.
Okay. 2 of them are on the Boston Red Sox.
Currently.
No, they weren't.
Oh, David Ortiz.
Okay. 541 career home runs.
All right. Boom.
Okay. 2 more.
Noma would have never taken
No.
steroids.
And he would have never hit
Noma.
500 home runs.
Noma's the man. Jason Giambi. I mean, Johnny Damon.
No. 500 home
Johnny
runs.
Damon. Cutest
We
dance in the
did.
league.
500 home runs.
5.
Just the Sports Center commercial. it's one of the best ways I can.
Chicks dig the long ball. That's actually not a sports guy.
I'm gonna give you another minute.
Okay. It's a sports center.
One of this player played for the Red Sox, played for the Dodgers, played for the Indians.
I have no idea.
Manny Ramirez.
Manny Ramirez! Damn, I love that guy. He's not a commercial.
Rube, you can cut the music. Yeah. Manny, he takes the drink and he like puts it on the table and then they're just like,
If you told me like who's the player that
it's
went
just
to the
Mi-
bathroom in the middle of an inning, I would have been like, oh, Manny Ramirez.
it's just Manny being Manny.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember Manny. Okay, there's one more.
Yes, and I'm gonna give you a
Old school?
visual hint on this one.
Ooh, nice.
Okay, his batting stance was like this.
Oh, Gary Sheffield.
Yeah. And he hit 509. So
Wow.
the 8 list is made
I
up
should have
of.
gotten all those.
I know you should have. In order: Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds 762, Alex Rodriguez, 696. Sammy Sosa, 609. Mark McGuire, 583. Rafael Palmeiro, 569. Manny Ramirez, 555. David Ortiz, 541. And Gary Sheffield, 509. Also not on that list, though, however, is Albert Pujols, who is still currently playing. He's over 600 home runs. Not linked to steroids. I don't think he ever will be linked to steroids, but couldn't be on the list because he isn't retired or linked to steroids, which all these guys are.
That's pretty crazy that like that many dudes are over 500 home runs with steroids.
It's steroids.
Right? Like
It's my and now.
what are you gonna say? Like let's say Altuve didn't cheat, right? And they were like, oh, Altuve hit 500, but he's in the Hall of Fame, and then all these guys are like, yeah, but like you juiced the ball.
What's a great point. And Dad
So
said
you're
this.
playing with a different ball. You're playing
What
with a
is the
juiced ball
difference
right now.
between allowing steroids or juicing the baseball?
The league got to decide that to juice the baseball. That's the only difference.
It wasn't in the player's
That's
hand.
right.
That is the difference.
Because the players didn't go to the Rawlings manufacturing studio and said, "Hey, we need you."
Yeah,
to
we need you to juice
baseball."
this, right? Now, I'll tell you this. David Ortiz better get in. I don't believe he's technically on the ballot. I think next
Big
year.
Poppy?
I think next year he's on the ballot.
I
Okay,
like Big Poppy.
but he has been linked to steroids.
He's funny on the MLB.
And when I say linked to steroids, people, there's
No
no
linked.
like. There's some of these guys, like Barry Bonds, never tested positive for steroids.
Neither did A-Rod.
But I mean,
Balco.
and the things that A-Rod got himself
Team
into,
Balco.
that was his fault, right? Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, those were known guys.
Sosa,
Palmeiro,
bad.
known guy. And that's the problem, I think, with Sosa, too.
Yeah, no doubt.
But at the end of the day, the bottom line is, so are we going to erase this part of baseball history because they took something that the league at the time was allowing? The reason why I'm okay with Alex Rodriguez not being in is because he took it at the time when the league said that they're not allowed in their suspensions. The reason I'm not okay with Barry Bonds is because he never got a positive test.
But A-Rod paid the price, so why can't he get in? He
Well, yeah.
didn't play for a year.
You know, you're right. You put it
He
that
did
way.
his time and he came back.
You're
Isn't that what Law and Order is about?
I watched Michael Scott do a full Law and Order skit the other day on The Office.
I'm just
and
saying,
you're
like
100% right.
A-Rod did his time. He sat a full year.
Full year. Listen,
And A-Rod was great.
at the end of the day, the bottom line is you're going to be okay with these guys
I
not
just
being
love
in.
A-Rod.
I'm not okay with it.
No, I think they should be in.
And Bond should be the first one.
Listen, at least put them in. Just like you can't, they might not get a bust.
That's dumb. They should
Agreed.
be in. And all the people that are baseball writers, you need to figure it out. Because you were writing about how great it was. Everyone knew it was legal. The league knew it was legal. Can't be mad.
How many pitchers that got caught using oil on their cap or sweat on their brim back in like the 40s, the 50s,
Guys that were taking
50s,
greenies.
guys that did all that stuff, they literally oiled up the baseball,
Yeah.
to throw a better
Spitball.
curveball.
Spitball was a thing.
How many of those guys are in the Hall of Fame?
Well, that's the research we need to do.
right, because it's the same thing.
To finish the conversation, Bob Costas said this last night on the Lost Summer. People have done worse and been praised for less.
Yeah,
Think about
and
that.
I liked what Bob Costas had to say because Bob Costas put it into perspective. He's like, there are people that morally, outside the lines of the game, have done very bad things and been praised for what they did inside the lines. And these guys are just, Mark McGuire's a good guy.
Great guy. And I think Bob Costas made that point too.
Yeah.
And you talk to all the guys you're accusing of being bad guys, they're actually some of the greatest people you'll meet. They just made a bad decision, taking steroids. Okay, we have 1 minute left in this show, and you know what that means. And since he's back this week, I can hand the duties off back to him. It is now time for Rock's Reviews.
Rock's Reviews is something near and dear to my heart this week, and I will be quick because I know we are up against the clock. But for all of you parents out there, I am reviewing the Frozen series. That's right, Frozen 1 and Frozen 2. At this point in the pandemic, I had a buddy actually text me right before the NFL draft. He's like, hey, who do you think the Giants should take? I said, dude, at this point, I think we should take Elsa. I said, because I think her skills are next level. She's fast, she's quick, and she can freeze anything in her sight. She is, her veins were ice cold. She's definitely going to perform under pressure. I think this is a great pick for us. Anyways, if you're a Frozen 1 fan, I get it. Olaf in Frozen 1 is awesome, but to me, Frozen 2 is definitely the better one. I think Elsa has two just show-stopping tunes that are next to, they're just outstanding. Makes you want to, it really plays like a Broadway play. You kind of want to give her a standing ovation after she sings on TV. And then she tames the water.
Impressive.
which is a horse, and I love that
Impressive.
scene. So I just like the storyline in Frozen 2.
So
So if
if
you're gonna watch, you got to watch both,
That
but
was my
Frozen
question.
2 for sure.
All right, that is your Rocks Reviews,
Yeah.
June 15, 2020, and that is The Rome Show here on HamiltonRadio.net, Channel 2 and Facebook.com/The Rome Show 1. I'm Andrew Romanella. That's Rocky Romanella. Remember, check out The Rome Show podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. Head over to the Wide World of Rome. Check out the gear. We will be back next week, Monday, 7 p.m., same time. And until then, we'll see you later.
Later.
Rocky Romanella is the founder and CEO of 360 Management Services LLC and author of the book Tighten the Lug Nuts. With over 40 years of boots on the ground leadership experience, Rocky creates excitement through his energy, passion, and knowledge in every podcast. During his 36 years at UPS, he led one of the largest rebranding initiatives in franchising history, the UPS Store, revolutionizing the $9 billion retail shipping and business services market. He also led the integration of more than 20 acquisitions that became UPS Supply Chain Solutions and let us improve financial performance, capabilities, and global footprint. Post-UPS, he served as CEO and director for Unitech Global Services, a telecommunications company, and serves as an independent board member and advisor. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the discussion.
Do this look like work to you? Nah, looking at the lights like it's all of this for me. Everyone tonight is here, all of this for me. Hands in the air, yeah, all of